Good morning, gentlemen. My name is Alex Zuzek, and this morning I will be talking to you about peer-assisted learning strategy, which can be, there's an acronym for it, which is PALS, and that's a cool acronym for it, and I'll explain more about that in a minute. So what I think this could be used well for is, I think, any discipline, I think this would work well, especially stuff where there's reading is more focused on, maybe in the content, so maybe English or social studies, but as we said, reading needs to be taught in all of the content areas, so science could definitely use it, or math, anywhere. I mean, math, with word problems, science with definitions and different terms and processes, stuff like that. So, what it is, PALS, Peer Assisted Learning Strategies, it's a class-wide peer tutoring program, and teachers carefully partner a student with a classmate, and the pair works on various activities. Generally, it's like one will read and the other will give them feedback, but there are various activities that can be done that help both students grow academically. And the pairs change over time, and PALs can be used across content areas. Like I was just saying, so does the website, the info. That's also, so that's kind of cool. Something that is worth noting is that the pairs are very intentional, typically, and so a teacher often selects a student that's doing well in one area, and they match them with someone else that's not doing as well. So say I was doing really poorly with a certain type of expository text, and Jake Kelcher was doing really, really well. And so for this unit, Mr. Hilgren might pair us together to work together, and then there's something else that I would be doing well and I could help Jake get better at. So that is something to realize too. Alright, the benefits of it is PALS does not require special reading materials, can be used anything, but because of that, it enables teachers to use the reading material of their choice, so that's cool. It's very flexible into different content areas, and this technique has been implemented as a strategy of ELL students with LD, which is pretty cool that it can help students that haven't spoken language for all their lives or are learning it, and as well as it can help students who have spoken English since they've started to talk. This strategy provides direct opportunities for the teacher to move around in the class and observe students and make sure the pairs are going well. And there's also with this, I think it would be a very good idea to create reflection sheets or worksheets that really help drive where they're working towards, or even just almost checklists to make sure that they're doing the certain steps that you want to make sure that they do. And it allows differentiated instruction with having partners and working simultaneously on teacher-directed. So even each different group, say you had 20 students in your class, that'd be 10 pairs. There could be easily 7-8 different types of work that was being done, and they could all be just slightly changed to benefit that group of two. And being that this relies a lot on students being able to help themselves and teach each other, I think this might be better suited in a little bit older classroom. I don't know that it would work as well in a middle school. There's certain ways that it could work well in a middle school classroom. I think especially it just would need more direction from teachers. But the older you go, the more reliant on the students you can be. So I guess it depends on how you want them, what experience you want for them to have if you have them work with the PALS strategy. Okay, so how to practically do it. So you have to create the pairs, which is the first step, and then you have to, and of course that's intentional, and then each member of the pair takes turns being coach and reader. This is an example of one of the activities. And these pairs are changed over regular periods of time, so say maybe every week, every 2 weeks, something like that. It's a typical rotation. Get it into a rotation in a system, and then it'll be more beneficial for the kids. And students will work on a variety of skills then. So all students have the opportunities to be coaches and players then too, so that's another reason you want it, because you don't want one kid who's struggling in a lot of areas to just continually be the player and like keep getting help where they aren't able to give help, because then they're going to realize, I'm being spotlighted kind of as the player, like I must not be very smart, something like that, and they might get down on themselves and be sad about that. All right. And so teachers train students to use the PALS procedures. So before you let them go off into their groups of two, you give them background, you give them direction, and like I said, a worksheet or instructions checklist would be super helpful. And then as the reader reads aloud, the coach, the other student, listens and provides corrective feedback. So like things about what different punctuation can mean, like for when you're reading, whether you're reading aloud or just to yourself. So like a pause quick or whatever after a comma. Sometimes maybe people skip that. And it's good. And for it to be most effective, it has to be implemented 2 to 4 times a week for 25 to 35 minutes. So that does seem like a substantial chunk, but I mean, if you think about 2 times a week for a half hour, and especially if you read with your content area, something like this in class, I think it seems pretty easily applicable. Yeah, thanks for watching. And there is the peer assisted learning strategy, aka PALS. Thank you.